Hello. Well, hello. This is a not so quick explanation of my coloring process, and also like an explanation of sorts. I'm not sure how much I can explain. It's a lot of like just going with the flow. So it's also just gonna be me explaining the errors and corrections as well, and how I could have changed things to make them better. And I think that's pretty standard. So the first one's going to be Hanzo and Genji's. I skipped the sketch since it's not the focus of today. So to start it off, I always do a great outline of where I'm going to color in. Always in a normal layer below the sketch or liner in multiply. I lay down the dull colors first, then blush it in with a more peachy red version of the base. I usually use a round brush for this. If not, it's a textured soft brush. Only then do I lay down more saturated colors to build up a more interesting look. This is where I usually decide the skin tone and undertones, whether red or olive or yellowish. If you want to do it in a similar way to me, just blush in everything. Don't rush to detail with shadows and small stuff. So like focus big, then small. For the colors, I usually like picking in the red square area for like the main or like the base colors, and the green circle will usually be where I pick my highlights, and the blue area will always be the shadows. So anyways, for the muscles like the pec, I don't really have a good explanation of how I color them. It's just that it's something I've been doing for a long while, like always in that pattern. So like here, I'll show you like the things I've been doing. Like you can see there, it's the same, somewhat the same thing, like just shadowing the collarbone area, or at least imply where the collarbone may be. Oh, and also I like coloring the sketch or line art with a clipping mask on top to make it blend in better. So since I could not bother with a proper line art, I usually like to draw in a rough idea where the details may be in with a round brush, as you'll see here. And then this is probably where I start doing tattoo. So this tattoo is going to be in a different layer. I put it in a multiply layer, and then use a really light color, in this case very cool blue, and using texture brushes to like imply details, because it's way more fun than just drawing in everything in line art. So with implying detail, you at least get to have a bit more fun trying to show what it should kind of look like instead of what it is. Something I also failed to mention is that the reference image I showed, I actually did not find that until after I finished the painting, because I wasn't bothered enough to find more references. I'm employing detail because I did not have a clear enough reference image. So that's why it's more implied. It's an excuse. But anyways, even if your design is supposed to look more implied, it's really important for you to like reference, at least find a more highly detailed image of what you're trying to draw, especially if it has like a complete design already out there on the internet. So anyways, after that, I just try playing with the values in hue editing part of Procreate, but you can see that it went from a more bluish tattoo to a more skin-like black ink seasoned tattoo, if you know what I mean, sort of. You can see my different layers of detail coming in after each step. In the first part, I don't go too in detail. I just try to see where I can give more life. That's where blush comes in. And the second part, it's usually where I start to search out for more cushiony stuff. I try to shape in more 3D shapes. In the final part, that's where I lay in the details, where I can build on top of that, so that I can draw more better details afterwards. So for Genji's turn, I don't have a lot of tips for how to paint metal. So all I can say is the fact that you should reference how metal looks. In this case, I quite literally just looked at his 3D model, like all the concept art on Pinterest I could find. I'm just painting in where it is, because conveniently enough, the lighting in the concept art was also on the top right hand side. It was neat. It was fitting. I was lucky. So anyways, continuing. For like metal, it's really much more easier to like paint it in with more textured brushes. If you want to go for like the more realistic side, at least if it's more textured, you can also apply like scratches. But anyways, since I am not the most well versed in metal rendering, I just keep using a texture brush and just brushing in anywhere that may be covered away from the light. So you see here, it's really important for you to like reference. Like here, I found it on Pinterest. It was the only one that was sufficient and clear enough. And what I like to do when I have multiple things to paint is to like put it in a collage. So in this case, I paid for an app. It's called PicRef. It's like $3, maybe? I forgot. It's been a while. But I use it to put in as many reference images I can find and make them as big as possible if you want the best quality. So continuing, you see me trying to airbrushing the pecs in, and it's really important to reference the best parts of your image if it's going to be the main focus, okay? So it's really important to find anatomy references. Personally, I try to find them on Pinterest. Since you noticed that I did not bother enough to draw in the line art for Genji, I very much prefer to just draw in the details later, you know, because it's way easier. You can edit it more, and it's like it's in a separate layer. It's not okay. It is kind of hard, but one thing you can like do that makes it easier is that you just draw in where the light may be and try to shade it and like make sense of it as much as you can. That's what I've been doing. Okay, so another thing. A rim light will help to separate your characters from front and back. So like add more meaning to like, oh, this person in the front, this person in the back. This one's shoulder is hitting the light. So here I'm gonna explain that. It's like really important to add some of these things, like, you know, just dramatic lights or just light in general, so that it just gives your painting more dimension, or at least more oomph. You've seen it in Ross Draws and like Sam Does Art, all that stuff. You know, you have seen that. Don't lie, you have. This is like a really good example of it. It's like it's a more well explained thing. You can check it out. And another thing I like to do is that to make it more colorful at the end, and that is by using an overlay layer, or at least playing around with layer settings to just make it more alive. Quick recap before we go to the second part. As I said before, gray outline, normal layer below the multiply layered sketch or line art with a clipping mask on top to make it colorful, and every other layer on top of the painting layer in clipping mask. Dull colors to tone to shaping to deep shadows. Textures always come first. The way you tackle this is with texture brushes. Just like I said before, abuse texture brushes, the hue editing tool, the overlay, soft light, layer settings, the dramatic light with rim lights. Don't abuse that one too much. Just do that whenever it can work. No. I also sometimes like using the curve setting, or at least the color balance, whenever I want to see if it can be more bluish, more colorful, I guess. And also, always prioritize rest and breaks, because my painting, even though I tell you that it takes around 4 hours, it takes around 4 hours of the day with like 1 hour to like 30-minute breaks. Second part, May. So here you can see that my sketch was really messy in comparison to Hanzo and Genji's, and that's an issue. And you know, you can already tell is the painting process is not gonna go well. Why? You can see here I already started too saturated. That's an issue I have been trying to stop myself from doing, because I do it sometimes without my own brain noticing. So another issue, I went into detail too fast. You see that? Yeah, dumb idiot. Went way too detailed first. And look at that. I tried to salvage it. Tried to detail the face without even like proper blushing, without proper anything. I didn't follow my own instructions. I was not in my best head game. My focus. I was not focused here. So here you can see me just trying my best to fix it all up. The funny thing is that I really tried to dull the colors to like, it's like so bad. I was too stuck on details too early, tried to change the pose, the face shape when details were already painted, and the worst part of it all, I did not warm up. I was not in focus. You have to be focused whenever you're painting, because then it's gonna be messed up sometimes, sometimes it doesn't. But see here, I'm kind of working it out with the airbrush, just brushing it in so that the details that I messed up can be obscured. And here, I made her face more scrunched in, and that made another issue. It now made her face too rectangular and not aligning with her head, sort of. Like even her ear is too far back now. So here, I'm trying to salvage it, move it around, try to paint more details in, use an airbrush. It's kind of working. It looks like it makes sense color-wise, but it doesn't make sense in her face proportion, butt proportion-wise. So, continuing, just using a reference, I just edited the gun. I didn't have a proper reference for that either. And here you'll notice me. I changed the color from a more wide one to like a more fit one to the neck. And you know why? Because all this time, I wasn't looking at the reference either. I wasn't focusing. So here you can see me. Just look at that. Look at that collar. It's way more tighter. And you see that gun? A failed gun. Not even 3D looking. I didn't have the reference I have here. I was so unprepared. So here's me with the second main, because that's the main focus. The best one in this whole painting. I started off with like a texture brush. Just brushing in whatever color it might be in. Just like a blue, a light blue, yeah, whatever. Tan, yeah, beige. Simple. And here, focused in where the most cutest part would be. Saturated there. So anyways, I just use a texture brush, just brush in, like diffuse where the light source may be. And then join the shadows with another texture brush. And then just brush it in, just blend it in. And then, you might see the backpacks, okay? They were supposed to be painted in, but no. I'm obscuring it, okay? I'm not painting them in on purpose. Implied detail by obscuring the bag with blue. Because it's also a cute dynamic. Blue with like orangey browns. That's cute. That's fire. That's... And then I added in more shadows, more details, and just drew in her face. It's so cute. I love that. I drew in more detail with like my square sketch, just deepening the shadows. So here I'm showing you my brushes, and here you'll see my color selection. It's the same kind of color selection that I do for Hanzo, but more simplified, because this one is a different style of coloring. It's not the same. So here you can see that I still pick a more saturated area, the red circle, So here is me adding more detail with a square sketch brush and adding in more colors using the overlay. Who would have guessed? Not me. Definitely me. But here you can see it's also from my brush pack. My brush pack, I'll explain all that later. So you might be wondering, where are they? Where are the brushes? Don't fret. It's here. It's all here. The God brushes, or whatever the names are, there. You can find them on Twitter. And the brush pack that's named Aina's brushes is just a collage I picked out to complete the Gwen one on top, if you can see what I mean. And my brushes, Rin's brush or whatever, whole set, it's in my link. Stop asking for them. It's in my link. It's gonna be under this video as well. Arusalis brush, you can find them on Tumblr. I will stress this more. You can find them, just search them up. And for Ahmed Alduri's brush, very amazing for more textures that look like rectangular whoosh. You can find more oil painting like. They're very good for blending, very good for textures. You can also check out like Yuming these brushes. I think they're free. Links in bio for brushes in video. They're gonna be below. So here's me trying to fix the proportions that I messed up before. And I realized the one on the right is way more round. Let's try doing that. And it worked. Made it more round, obscured details because I cannot be bothered, and just tried to make things more blended. And another thing, I could have pushed the pose to look more cuter, more girly pop, you know? And this is just the rest of the painting process. Painting speed paint. So you saw that sketch thing from before. So this is just like from a video I was doing. Not video, but like it was just me studying feet. Sorry. I'm a weirdo, I guess. And it's just like I came across like those Korean artists that had really, really good like realistic drawings. And it's like, boom, look at that. I was experimenting with like hair and eyes. Anyways, that's the end. Bye.